So we all for a moment close our eyes and concentrate in our hearts, invoking the first power of the Divine Mother, the power of wisdom. She is the calm wideness, the comprehensive wisdom. She is the vastness, she is the peace. She is what brings in our mind a quiet clarity. She is vast and wide and quiet and peaceful, and brings in our lives a certain vision of the future. She is the Mother of Wisdom. We bow to her, we invite her into this space with an aspiration to surrender to her, with an aspiration to open to her, with an aspiration to become worthy of her presence in our system, in our being, with an aspiration to know her, to discover her, to bask in her mystery, to adore her, to worship her, to admire her, and to become in her image as her children and instruments of the Mother Divine. With peace and quietude, we welcome Maheshwari into our collective space, into the collective yajna. Imperial Maheshwari is seated in the wideness above the thinking mind and will, and sublimates and greatens them into wisdom and largeness, or floods with a splendor beyond them. Imperial Maheshwari, she is the majestic Maheshwari, the majestic goddess that presides over all, and she is seated high above, in the wideness above our thinking minds, which is where most of us often find our center of being. She is seated above. Imagine and visualize a big 1,000-petaled lotus above your head, which is wide and open into the vastness of the sky. So she is seated above into that wideness, that vastness, above our thinking mind and will. So our thinking mind is usually situated at the location of our brain. Our thinking will is usually situated between the eyebrows, which is where our buddhi is. But Maheshwari, this wisdom, the Mother of Wisdom, she is above our thinking mind. So she is not seated into our little brain. She is above our brain. And actually all true knowledge and wisdom into our minds actually comes from above. Just above our mind, there are different planes of higher minds through which we receive knowledge and wisdom from the ultimate plane of Sat, from the ultimate plane of truth. So that's where she's seated. She has a throne above our minds. And that is where she sublimates and greatens our thinking mind. So the role Maheshwari plays is she takes hold, she takes up our thinking mind and our will, which is the buddhi, which is the intelligent will that all of us have, and she sublimates that thinking mind and greatens our thoughts into wisdom. So she is the one, and you can particularly meet her in silence. You can particularly meet her in whispers of silence and quietude. And you will notice when you're completely at peace. No matter how big a problem that you are caught into, when you're completely well rested at peace, a certain wisdom begins to speak to you. And this is the little action of the Imperial Maheshwari, who takes up our thinking mind and will and greetens its thoughts into wisdom. And largeness of floods with a splendor beyond them. For she is the mighty and wise one who opens us to the supramental infinities and the cosmic vastness, to the grandeur of the supreme light, to a treasure house of miraculous knowledge, to the measureless movement of the Mother's eternal forces. Let's take this phrase by phrase. One thing here to notice is Sri Aurobindo says, she opens us to a treasure house of miraculous knowledge. A lot of times in the scientific world, there is a misconception that knowledge is all dry, that only when one moves away from the rasa of the emotion, that one will enter into the objective world of knowledge. Whereas truly speaking, the true knowledge, the knowledge which is made of wisdom and truth, is always rhythmic and beautiful. It is for this reason, whenever the ancient rishis received knowledge in their meditations, they received it in the form of some or the other poetry. And yes, so this knowledge that comes from the higher regions above, from the regions of divine wisdom, from the regions of Sat Chit Ananda, it brings a treasure house of miraculous knowledge. It is for this reason, when in our minds and in our heads, we get an insight, it feels like a light bulb has lit in our minds and there is a delight in our eyes and we are so full of that light and spark in our being. So that's one thing that she brings. She's the mighty and the wise one who brings a treasure house of miraculous knowledge. Now another important word here to notice, that Maheshwari is obviously the wise one. But not just that she's the wise one, she's also the mighty one. Usually we associate the word might with the second power of the divine Shakti, which is Mahakali. But actually even Maheshwari, the goddess, the mother of wisdom, she's also the mighty one because she's imperial. She's all presiding. All movements in nature begin with wisdom. At a very practical, grounded nature, if you look at any organization or any project, it first begins with an idea. It first begins with a vision, which is why, wisdom is the starting point, which is why Maheshwari is the first mother who's all presiding and mighty and vast and sitting in that wideness across all lines of work which is happening upon the earth. So this is another phrase to be noted. He says, to the measureless movement of the Mother's eternal forces. Our lives is a speck. Our destiny and our fate is a speck in the larger lines of an eternal movement which is in action. See, from the very conception of earth, to the time when earth becomes a spontaneous, palpable expression of the divine wisdom, power, beauty, harmony in action, There are large lines of movements that have been set forth by the Imperial Maheshwari. And she's the one who presides over these larger movements at play, these larger movements that spread across different centuries, across different decades. It's like, if you notice, across the different years, thousands of years on earth, the hand of the Mother Nature has labored to bring an increasingly truer unity in diversity on earth. It's in that line of movement world wars have happened, oppressions have happened, UN has gotten formed, India is now rising towards its spiritual destiny. So she's the one who oversees and foresees very large lines of movements. These lines of movements are not restricted to one particular time zone. These are spread across the different time zones. To give you another example, somewhere Mother says that Auroville exists. Auroville in its essence exists. It just has to be downloaded. It may take a few years or it may take 1,000 number of years. Now, this movement, which may even take 1,000 years, it's the Imperial Maheshwari who has set the ball rolling towards that vision, the fulfillment of a vision that is beyond our limited sense of time and space. That is why, he says the measureless movement. These are measureless movement of the Mother's eternal forces. And she is the one who opens us to the supramental infinitudes. So what is the supermind? That's a very big question, perhaps a question for another day for us to explore. But in very simple words, we have the three higher planes of Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And then we have the three lower planes through which manifestation on earth takes place. And these three lower planes are our physical, our vitality, and our mind. And then there are the higher ranges of the mind. But between these three lower ranges and planes of existence and the three higher ranges of existence is the bridge. And that bridge is the supramental. It is in that bridge, it is in that plane of consciousness, that which we call as the Vijnanamaya. It is in that bridge that oneness and multiplicity is together, that the truth of oneness expresses itself into diversity. And it's that truth that we are trying to download and cultivate into the lower regions and lower planes of being. So before we bring this multiple oneness down into the lower ranges of being, it is first important for us to open up to the supramental infinitudes. So she is the Mother who opens us to the supramental infinitudes and the cosmic vastness. She is the one who makes us and puts us in touch with a universal sense of vastness and wideness and a sense of wisdom and knowledge which is as vast and wide as the universe itself. And she is the one who opens us to the grandeur of the supreme light. It is for this reason, often, the imagery that comes of the mind opening up to a higher wisdom is of the ray of the sun which is entering inside our minds. It opens to the supreme light. With that, we come to the next sentence. Tranquil is she and wonderful, greatens and calm forever. She is the Mother Divine who is full of peace and silence and tranquility. And one perceives her most when one looks at the wideness and the vastness of the sky. She sees great and wide and tranquil and brings a certain serenity. Nothing can move her because all wisdom resides in her. Nothing is hidden from her that she chooses to know. And she comprehends all things and all beings in their nature and what moves them and the law of the world and its times and how all was and is and must be. So this is the Mother who brings inside all of us the true knowledge of each thing. This is the Mother who tells us what is the true nature of each being, what is the true law of each being. Otherwise, many times, we are trying to mentally, morally harmonize things, make things work. Even when it comes to spirituality and we become on the spiritual path, we increasingly have a checklist. I need to be getting up at so and so time. I need to be reading so and so books. I need to be perfecting so and so things, and then I am a spiritual person. But it does not work like that. It works by opening oneself to the force of the Mother. And when this force begins to enter, that is when one begins to sincerely and truly see what is the true thing for each movement to take place. What is the true thing to be done in each movement? What is the true nature of each person in the team? What is the true nature and law of each thing? And yes, another word that, comes as a highlight is nothing can move her. When we say nothing can move her, it is not because she is rigid. No. It's in fact, she is absolutely the opposite of any kind of rigidity or any kind of dogma. It is because she is infinite and vast. And that's the reason nothing can move her or sway her very easily. Because all wisdom resides in her. So no amount of emotional blackmail or, emotionality can color this wisdom. She's nicely seated in a landscape and a widescape of extremely comprehensive wisdom. So nothing can move her like that. And yet she comprehends each thing and what moves each thing in the world. A strength is in her that meets everything and masters, and none can prevail in the end against her vast intangible wisdom and high tranquil power. So this is also very beautiful because often we associate the quality of power with Kali and Mahakali. But there is also great power of wisdom, because when wisdom begins to flow through you, it gives you a certain quiet strength that makes you sail through things. It's not a strength and a courage that makes a lot of noise, but a tranquil power. So it gifts you with intangible wisdom and a high tranquil power. Equal, patient, inalterable in her will. She deals with men according to their nature and with things and happenings according to their force and the truth that is in them. Partiality she has none, but she follows the decrees of the Supreme, and some she raises up and some she casts down or puts away from her into the darkness. To the wise, she gives a greater and more luminous wisdom. Those who have vision, she admits to her counsels. On the hostile, she imposes the consequence of their hostility. The ignorant and the foolish, she leads according to their blindness. Now here I would like to give a very loving example, This is actually very difficult to understand because one may ask, oh, she is the Divine Mother, then why is it that, on the ignorant and foolish, instead of awakening and enlightening them, she is leading them according to their blindness? And what does it really mean? That reminds me of a particular example of the mother of Sri Aurobindo ashram. Two examples actually. And it really opened my eyes. It surprised me when I listened that, this is what happened. So once 3 sadhaks in the ashram, teenagers in the ashram, I think teenagers or young sadhaks, let me put it like that, young seekers asked the mother that they want to go to another city to watch a football match, right? They wanted to watch a football match. And to 2 individuals, mother said, yes, you go. And to the 3rd individual, mother said, no, you don't go. Why do you feel she did that? Why 2 people yes to go, 1 person no to go? And then the person obviously who received a no asked the mother, why are you being partial towards me? Why did you not allow me to go and watch a football match, and to these other 2 that you loved them more and you allowed them to go? Essentially what she said, and it really brought tears to my eyes when I heard it, she said that, if to the 2 individuals who wanted to go to another city to watch a football match, even if she would have said no, she knew, they would have, still gone. So they would have gone against mother's word and gone. So she said that, she does not want to bring that kind of a guilt in them. She doesn't want to bring that kind of a karma in their trajectory of evolution, and in order to protect them from the repercussions of not following mother's word, which is not a physical repercussion that she would have brought, but a more of an occult karmic repercussion. In order to protect them from that, she said, you guys go ahead, because she knew that even if she says no, they're going to go away in any case. And she knew that going away there is about, mixing up with all kinds of consciousness, and this was not really the time for them to step out of the concentrated environment of the ashram. But she knew even if she says no, they're going to go away in any case. So then she decided that, might as well say yes, so that they are, freed from the karmic repercussions. And the one to whom she said no, she knew he is receptive and he would understand, and he will not go when she says no. So that was one thing that really kind of opened my eyes. Another incident was 2 sadhaks again in the ashram dining hall. One sadhak, once took a little bit extra food from the dining hall and fed to his friend in his room. And mother said that is not okay. It's the food meant for the ashram. It's not okay to lie and hide and go and feed your personal friend. Let's not do it like that. And then this, seeker felt bad, and the seeker said that, but mother, this other person in the ashram, in another department in the ashram, do you know he uses ashram products and he's running a business, and you don't say anything to him. And she says that, my dear, I say it to you because you can receive it. And, I know he will not be able to receive it, but still, he too is my child, and I hold him too with that same amount of love and compassion. Another example of love and compassion. So, there is a tribe. There's a tribe near Pune. They are professional thieves. And from generations altogether, they have been into, doing chori. They have been into being thieves. And they do it very religiously as a profession. It gets passed down from one generation to another. So they're professional thieves like that. And in the British era, because, it is very difficult to deal with, profession of thief. So they had to relocate this tribe somewhere else. And they are, at the moment near Pune. And
what happened is one of these thieves one day entered into his professional situation, which is that of robbery, into somebody's house. But this person's house, this person had a revolver, had a gun, right? And this person realized, okay, there's a thief in my house, and put the revolver in front of the thief, and he was almost going to be shot. And at that moment, he remembered that near to his village, somebody had told him to remember the mother. That, whenever you're caught in a trouble, you remember the mother, right? So he remembered the mother in the moment, and this person actually shot the, from the revolver, and it just escaped him by a centimeter, and he could run away. And later on, one found out that actually this tribe very regularly comes for the darshan of the mother and actually has even received blessings from the mother. And I couldn't believe it because, we have all these notions of right and wrong, moral and immoral, that, what is deserving of love and what is not deserving of love and compassion of the divine. And this is really Mother's wideness and largeness in whom everything and everybody exists. And that is what we are going to read out in the subsequent lines. So here I kind of carry on. So yes, she says that in each man she answers and handles the different elements of his nature according to their need and their urge and the return they call for, puts on them the required pressure or leaves them to their cherished liberty. So their cherished liberty to prosper in the ways of ignorance or to perish. Now this example of the person in the ashram who's nicely stealing from the ashram itself and running a business. So this power of the mother actually has that much wideness and space and compassion to hold space for a seeker of that nature also, and not get moralistic about it and say that, you don't deserve to be in the ashram, but rather she holds that space of a wide, inexhaustible compassion for even that person to prosper in the ways of the ignorance or to perish. For she is above all bound by nothing, attached to nothing in the universe. That's one characteristic that this Mother Divine brings inside of us. The unique and the pure characteristic of not being attached to anything in the universe and yet carrying the entirety of the universe in its compassion. Yet has she more than any other the heart of the Universal Mother, for her compassion is endless and inexhaustible. All are to her eyes her children and portions of the One, even the Asura and the Rakshasa and the Pisacha. So even the worst kinds of human beings that we cannot understand and fathom, then how can this human being behave like this? This reminds me of once I watched a documentary where somebody had interviewed lots of rapists. And in my head, that's the kind of a humanized or, personified image of an asura in my mind. And when I really, looked at that entire documentary, I realized that even though the kind of gross, heartless, indifferent and really gross, crude, unforgivable acts that they have done, still when I saw all of them, I saw, yes, it went completely wrong when it came to their conditioning. Things went completely wrong, but one could still see that there is something human about them. And that is how this Mother Divine carries everyone in her compassion, which is endless and inexhaustible. And this is not to say that one condones acts which are of violence. It's not to condone anything wrong, so don't misinterpret it. But her compassion is endless and inexhaustible, and all are to her eyes her children and portions of the One, even the Asura, the Rakshasa, the Pisacha, and those that have revolted and are hostile. And then this is the most beautiful thing. Even her rejections are only a postponement, even her punishments are a grace. And that is why one finds this beautiful characteristic of the Imperial Maheshwari. Because earlier in the write-up, Sri Aurobindo is writing that when it's the ignorant and the foolish, she leads according to their blindness. When it's on the hostile, she imposes the consequence of their hostility. So she does, according to each one's nature. And then one wonders, why is she not, why is she imposing the consequences of one's hostility on the hostile? Why is she not, weakening them like that? But then you realize that, even her rejections, which are the consequences of our own ignorance that we receive, are only Maheshwari's way of postponement. Even her punishments are a grace, but her compassion does not blind her wisdom. Now this is very important. A lot of times, in the path of spirituality, when our heart begins to open up to the to love, then what begins to happen is, over a period of time, it becomes attachment, and when attachment happens, it colors our mind and our knowledge and our wisdom. But in Maheshwari, she has infinite, inexhaustible compassion. But it's a compassion that does not blind her wisdom or turn her action from the course decreed. It's not like, just because she's feeling compassionate towards Asura and Rakshasa and Pishacha also, that she will take a detour. No, the thing that is meant to happen, right? What Sri Aurobindo wrote as the measureless movement of the mother's eternal force, that is meant to happen, right? And that she will facilitate no matter what. For the truth of things is her one concern, knowledge her center of power, and to build our soul and our nature into the divine truth, her mission and her labor. So the ultimate thing that she makes us seek is the truth of things. Knowledge is the center of power for the Imperial Maheshwari, and she seeks to build in us our soul and our nature into the divine truth. That is her mission and that is her labor. In the beginning of the book, very beautifully, Sri Aurobindo is writing that actually the sadhana is also being done by the divine. It's the divine only who is the sadhak also, but it takes some time for one to discover. So it's our souls itself that is seeking that thing. Everything which is described of the Imperial Maheshwari is also described of our own souls also, because that is what is doing the sadhana, right? So with that, we come to a closure of the reading. I hope you found the video to be useful. If you would like to continue your journey with us, if you would like to help us support you in your journey, click on the link below and join us for a 2.5 hour signature masterclass called the Awakening Karmayogi Workshop, where we run you through the fundamental stages of awakening to become a Karmayogi, to be peaceful inside and successful outside. We talk about Swabhava, our true nature, and Swadharma, our soul's purpose, which are the building blocks of a life affirming, not a life negating spirituality. So if you found this video to be useful, click on the link below and I shall see you at the workshop.